Nothing in Landman Season 2 prepared us for this ending. Every warning we ignored, every risky choice that felt survivable, every silence that lingered too long, it all comes crashing together here. This isn't just a finale, it's a reckoning. And by the time the final episode ends, almost every character is standing at the edge of something they can't walk back from. The final episode opens with a feeling that's hard to describe, but impossible to ignore. It's not chaos yet. It's worse than that. It's calm pretending to be control. Phones still ring. Meetings still happen. People still say the right words. But underneath all of it, the foundation is cracking. Tex looks operational on the surface, but the damage from Tommy's firing is already spreading like a slow leak no one wants to acknowledge. Tommy's absence is felt immediately. Decisions that once had balance now feel reckless. Cammy sits at the center of it all, confident, energized, and completely convinced she made the right call. To her, risk is not a problem, it's the point. She believes bold moves are what separate leaders from cowards. But what the episode makes painfully clear is that courage without restraint starts to look a lot like blindness. Every conversation she feels slightly off, like she's speaking faster than she's thinking, pushing forward before anyone can question her. Meanwhile, the offshore drilling project moves ahead, but something about it feels wrong. The celebration is forced. The smiles don't last. Even the crew senses it. This was supposed to be a victory, yet it feels more like temptation. The show quietly reminds us that the ocean doesn't care about ambition, and it never forgives arrogance. Every shot of the platform feels heavier now, as if the sea itself is waiting. At home, Tommy is trying to process what just happened to his life. This isn't just about losing a job. This is about losing purpose, identity, and stability all at once. For the first time, we see him without a plan. He's spent his entire career preventing disasters, and now he's been removed right before one might happen. The irony is brutal. He knows exactly what could go wrong, but no one is listening anymore. Angela, on the other hand, reacts in the way we've come to expect. She refuses to panic, at least on the surface. But cracks start to show. Her comfort, her control, and her lifestyle were all built on the assumption that money would never stop flowing. Now, that assumption is under threat. And instead of facing it directly, she starts distancing herself emotionally, as if preparing for an exit before things get truly uncomfortable. Love exists here, but it's conditional, and the episode doesn't shy away from that truth. Cooper's storyline grows darker in this final chapter. After asserting himself as a leader at work, he's riding a high that borders on dangerous. He believes he's finally stepped into his power. But confidence without restraint becomes impulsive fast. When his personal life collides with his temper, the result is explosive. The show doesn't glorify what happens next. It lets it feel ugly, shocking, and irreversible. One moment changes everything, and suddenly Cooper's future is no longer bright. It's uncertain, fragile, and possibly ruined. What makes this episode so intense isn't just what happens, but how inevitable it all feels. Every character is facing consequences they were warned about. Every shortcut has a cost. Every ignored red flag is now demanding payment. And as the episode pushes forward, the question is no longer if things will fall apart, but who will be crushed when they do. As the episode moves deeper, the pressure stops building and starts squeezing. There's no room left to avoid consequences now. Everything that was unstable in the background steps into the foreground, demanding attention whether the characters are ready or not. Cooper's situation escalates quickly. What began as an impulsive act of protection is now being reframed through the cold, unforgiving lens of the law. The show is careful here. It doesn't rush. It lets the weight settle. Cooper isn't treated like a hero, but he isn't painted as a villain either. He's a young man who crossed a line, and now he's realizing that good intentions don't erase brutal outcomes. The silence around him is louder than any dialogue. For the first time, his confidence fully cracks. He understands that one moment may cost him everything he worked for, his job, his future, and the family he hoped to build with Ariana and Miguel. Ariana is caught in the middle of the storm, and her fear feels painfully real. She's grateful to be alive, shaken by what almost happened, but terrified by what Cooper has done. The show doesn't give her dramatic speeches. Instead, it lets her reactions speak. She understands that violence follows people long after the moment passes. And now that violence has entered her life permanently, the safety she thought she had is gone. Back at Tex, Cammy begins to face resistance for the first time. Without Tommy acting as the buffer between ambition and disaster, problems that were once managed quietly start surfacing openly. Equipment delays, safety concerns, conflicting reports. People begin to hesitate, and hesitation is something Cammy has no patience for. She pushes harder, demands loyalty, and mistakes compliance for confidence. But the tension in the room says otherwise. The crew follows orders, not belief. Dan's presence becomes more unsettling here. He watches the chaos with interest, not concern. His obsession with control and expansion feels closer than ever to turning dangerous. The episode subtly hints that he's ready to take advantage of any failure, no matter who gets hurt in the process. His ambition has always been sharp, but now it feels predatory. Tommy, meanwhile, finds himself in the most painful position of all, being right too late. People start coming to him quietly, not officially, not openly, just questions, doubts, worries. He answers them honestly, but he knows it doesn't matter. Advice without authority is just noise. Still, the show lets us see that he hasn't given up. He's frustrated, hurt, and angry, but not broken. And that matters. Angela's storyline finally collides with reality. The financial uncertainty she's avoided can't be ignored anymore. Her response is not growth, it's retreat. She becomes colder, more distant, more self-protective. The episode doesn't judge her, but it doesn't excuse her either. It shows her exactly as she is, someone who values security over struggle, even if it means walking away from the people who need her most. As the hour pushes forward, one thing becomes clear. Every character is now reacting instead of planning. The safety nets are gone. The systems they trusted are failing. And the calm that opened the episode has completely disappeared. What's left is momentum, fast, dangerous, and impossible to stop. And with everything spiraling at once, the finale makes a promise it intends to keep. No one is getting out of this untouched. By the time the episode reaches its final stretch, the tension stops simmering and turns volatile. This is the point where denial collapses. No more pretending things can be fixed quietly. No more delaying the fallout. The damage is here, and everyone feels it. The offshore drilling operation becomes the silent threat hanging over everything. Reports start coming in that don't align. Small issues are brushed aside as normal complications, but the language changes. Words like acceptable risk and manageable deviation start appearing more often, and that's how the show tells us something is deeply wrong. Cammy refuses to slow down. To her, hesitation is weakness, and weakness is failure. She doubles down, convinced that confidence alone can bend reality. But leadership without listening becomes isolation, and isolation becomes danger. Tommy watches this unfold from the outside, powerless, but fully aware of what's coming. This is where the episode hurts the most. He isn't angry anymore. He's afraid. Not for his career, but for lives. The show gives him quiet moments where you can feel the weight of everything he's prevented over the years. He knows how fast things can go wrong offshore. He knows how one ignored warning can turn into catastrophe. And he knows that if disaster strikes, the same people who pushed him out will come looking for him to clean it up. Cooper's storyline reaches its emotional breaking point here. The legal reality starts to settle in, and the consequences feel unavoidable. His job at Tex is now hanging by a thread. Cammy no longer sees him as an asset but as a liability, someone whose personal chaos could spill into the company at the worst possible time. The power he thought he gained earlier in the season evaporates instantly. What's left is fear and regret. The show makes it clear that growing up sometimes means realizing strength isn't just about action but restraint, and that lesson came too late for him. Angela and Tommy finally face each other in a way they've avoided all season. There's no yelling, no dramatic exit, just quiet disappointment. Angela's priorities become painfully clear, and Tommy sees the truth he's been ignoring. Love exists between them, but it's not enough to survive instability. The comfort she built her life around is gone, and she's already preparing to move on emotionally, if not physically. It's a brutal moment because it feels real. Not cruel, just honest. Dan steps further into the shadows of the story, and this is where his role starts to feel truly dangerous. He's ready to capitalize on mistakes, ready to fill power vacuums, ready to push the company further than it should ever go. The show doesn't need to spell it out. You can see it in the way he observes instead of reacts. He's not afraid of collapse. He's waiting for it. As the episode races toward its final moments, everything converges. Careers are unstable. Relationships are fractured. The offshore project teeters on the edge. And the sense of inevitability is overwhelming. The show stops asking what will happen next and starts asking who will pay the price. The finale doesn't offer comfort here. It tightens its grip. Because when systems fail and people break, the aftermath is never clean. The final minutes of the episode feel heavy, almost suffocating, like the show itself is holding its breath. This is where everything the season has been building toward finally lands. Not with explosions or easy resolutions, but with consequences that feel permanent. The offshore operation reaches a critical moment. Nothing fully collapses on screen, but the warning signs are impossible to ignore. A malfunction, a delayed response, a look of fear that lingers a second too long. The show makes a smart choice here by not giving us the disaster itself. Instead, it gives us certainty. Certainty that something is coming. Certainty that the safeguards are gone. Certainty that the people in charge no longer know how to stop what they started. And that might be more terrifying than an actual explosion. Cammy finally stands alone. The confidence that carried her all season begins to crack, not because she doubts herself, but because the cost of her decisions is becoming impossible to deny. She wanted control, speed, and power. Now she has them. And she realizes too late that no one is left to share the blame if things go wrong. Her vision has isolated her, and leadership without trust is a dangerous place to stand. Tommy's story closes on a quiet but devastating note. He is no longer part of Tex, yet his presence looms larger than ever. People whisper his name. Problems echo his warnings. The show strongly suggests that if disaster strikes, he will be the only one capable of fixing it. Whether he chooses to return is left unanswered. Pride, pain, and exhaustion all stand in the way. But one thing is clear, his exit was a mistake, and everyone knows it now. Cooper's future is left deliberately uncertain. Legal consequences loom. His career is in jeopardy, and the life he wanted to build feels further away than ever. The episode doesn't punish him, it pauses on him. It lets us sit with the idea that one moment can rewrite an entire future. Protection turned into destruction. Loyalty turned into loss. Angela's arc closes with emotional distance rather than drama. She doesn't leave in a storm. She simply withdraws. And that quiet retreat says everything about who she is and what she values. The comfort she fought so hard to preserve now feels fragile, and the cost of maintaining it may be the people she once claimed to love. The final shot of the episode doesn't offer answers. It offers tension, the kind that lingers long after the screen goes dark. The offshore project is unstable. Relationships are fractured. Power has shifted into dangerous hands. And the sense that everything could collapse at any moment is overwhelming. This finale doesn't end Landman Season 2. It locks it into place. It reminds us that ambition without restraint destroys, that silence can be as deadly as action, and that the most dangerous decisions are often made by people who believe they are untouchable. And as the screen fades, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Nothing will ever be the same again.